Okay, in this video, this is going to be a follow-up to the HSD. My previous video was the unboxing. Now, this is pretty much, it's already been put together. I have the wings off right now, but you don't need to see the wings. There's not much you're going to do to the wings anyways, other than just glue a little piece of plastic. So, I ended up going with the version that does not come with the turbine. I ended up putting a KingTech K60. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, what I was going to do is pretty much wherever the possibility of heat going in there, I was going to put the tape, and that's the aluminum tape that they use for air conditioning or heating. You could buy that at the hardware store. They're pretty cheap, and it goes a long way. So everywhere where the turbine goes, there's that heat resistant tape. You can't see it, but down here underneath on the inside, that's all covered as well. So if I was to get any serious flame coming out of the turbine for whatever the reason, it's not going to be a problem because for the most part it's going to be covered. And the bottom part, I didn't do the bottom part. I did part of it, not all of it. The reason why, you can see down there at the bottom, there's a piece of, I don't know if it's stainless steel. It appears to be stainless steel. That goes from basically just forward of the turbine where the intake would be, and it goes a little bit to the back. And I took that out because I was going to put tape underneath, and there's two pieces of that stainless steel. So if the first one gets hot, there's still another one underneath that. So that's two layers. It's not going to go anywhere. As far as mounting the turbine, what I ended up doing is, you could tell the original hose. This one here was one of the original ones. And over here somewhere was the other one. That didn't line up to the KingTech turbine mount. So what I ended up doing is I used the same parts. So I used the same blind nuts, the same screws. The only thing is I moved the turbine just slightly forward, probably about half an inch forward, and that was enough for me to redo new hose. You don't have to go that much forward. My buddy, who did basically the same type of assembly on a different jet, he ended up using the original mounts. Mine didn't line up, so I had to change them. So I don't know why his fit and mine didn't. Either way, it was not really a big deal. The hatch, it's right over here. And then what I ended up doing with this, same thing. If you flip it, there was already a material on there, but I still ended up putting that tape on there to reflect the heat. So once that piece is on here, it's pretty much going to cover all of the turbine. So whatever fire's in there, it's not going to melt the foam. What I also ended up doing, this is at the recommendation of my buddy who has one flying. Every seam where the plastic met, like right here, I put CA all the way around, top and bottom. Also these hinges right over here, I did the same thing. I put CA all the way around on both sides, just to make it a little bit stronger so it wouldn't accidentally pop off. And then I did the same thing over here. Was this plastic one, CA'd underneath and along here, and then I did the same thing on the wing. One of the things that he recommended, my buddy that has one of these already flying, this part of the top started to bubble up, and he noticed that it would bubble up when he taxied it for an extended period of time. And what he found out is that somehow the heat was going from back here to the front, and there was no way for it to get out. So it was starting to bubble up, and it actually started to split on here. So what he ended up doing is he ended up doing two hoses, one here and another one over here, so that the heat could go out. And as soon as he ended up doing that, the problem went away. What I ended up doing is I did do the same hose as he did. However, I put this little scoop, so as the airplane's going, it should be able to scoop just a little bit of air to force a little bit of cool air in there and hopefully push all the hot air out of there. You don't have to do this. I ended up doing this because I think it's probably better. You could just get away with doing the hose, or you might not even need to, experiment with it. I wasn't going to experiment because his already worked, so we pretty much did the same thing as his. Okay, this is the rest of it, the way I mounted everything. In the front, I have one of the big King Tech Lifey batteries. I think it's the 3800 one, which is pretty big. You don't need to go that big. It just so happened that I had it, so I stuck it in here. There's the air trap. Talk about that in a minute. And then this is the way I mounted the electronics. You got this part right here would be for the turbine, pretty much the brains. Mounted my receiver over here. And then you have that board. And then you have the retract sequencer and whatnot. One of the things that I also did, and I don't know how much you want to trust the Chinese products or not. I wasn't gonna chance it. If that board right here in the middle goes bad, the airplane's probably gonna crash. So the sequencer that they have on their mixer, whatever you want to call it, it's a Chinese product. I don't know how good Chinese products are, but I wasn't gonna chance it. So what I ended up doing, I have a DX18. So I had enough channels. So what I ended up doing is disconnecting the ailerons and the elevator from that board. Also, I ended up disconnecting the rudder from it. And I ended up just connecting it straight to the receiver. And that way, if this thing is going to fail, it's going to have to fail at the receiver. And it's a Spectrum receiver. Pretty good quality. I don't think it's going to fail, but if it fails, it's going to be because of the radio, not because of a cheap board where a part came undone. I'm not saying they're cheap. If it was an EDF, I probably would have left that board, but it being the turbine engine costs more than the airplane, so I didn't want to risk it. Also, the possibility of starting a fire, there's no point of it. So, other than that, I left the sequencer or the mixing board for the flaps. That still works pretty good, but everything else is connected straight to the receiver. Other than that, this is the way I mounted everything. So for the receiver, it's a 5,000 milliamp 2-cell LiPo, and to get the CG correct, I ended up mounting the battery over on this side, the LiPo battery, and it's not too far from the center, but it's as far as back as I could get it. The back's actually touching all the way in the back. And then to get the CG correct over here, what I ended up doing is the air trap, moved it a little bit, but the air trap, I put little markings where the air trap should be. There's the correct markings. So as long as my strap is where the marks are, the CG should be good. And the CG was the air trap full. Right now it's not full all the way. And that's pretty much it. I ended up putting that piece, the blue piece of towel you see on there, just in case it leaked any fuel. And it did leak fuel. I believe it was this side. The bottom part of it started to leak. So I ended up having to put a new seal on there. But other than that, it doesn't leak anymore. And the only thing that I did have a problem with was the clunk on the tank. Everything was correct. It was one of these yellow lines like you see here. And as soon as I put fuel on it, it pretty much fell. And then when I took the clunk off and opened up the tank, not only did it fall, but that rubber hose actually started to almost melt. So I would say the rubber hose here, it's pretty cheap quality. This is the filler one, so it's not that big of a deal. But I ended up putting a better quality one inside of there. So other than that, that's about it. The next video, it's going to be it flying. Right now, we've done several test runs with the hatch on and off, just to make sure there's no heat issues, and there's not. So next video hopefully is going to be of it actually flying.